Full disclosure, I did not like this movie. What's up guys, my name's Hayden Murphy and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing Disclosure Day by Steven Spielberg. Now if any of you saw my out-of-theater reaction for this movie, then you know I had a pretty eventful time seeing it, because unfortunately, halfway through the movie, the entire theater lost power due to a major thunderstorm. I was pretty frustrated because I was really kind of into the movie, albeit there was a pretty serious audio mix issue. I'm not sure if that was the fault of the theater, of the copy they got sent from the studio, or if it was just the thunderstorm happening outside. It was so loud I couldn't hear. Have no idea. But then the movie got cut off, and I was really frustrated because I didn't get to have that closure, pun intended, on seeing the finale of what the story had started. So I was really intrigued. I was into the first half of the movie, roughly about 2/3 of the movie. And I wasn't certain if I was going to be able to finish it due to time constraints. Well, they gave me a little ticket. I was able to come back, and I was able to watch the movie in its entirety today. So, what did I think? Yeah, this one was not for me. Unfortunately, I almost feel like it was God himself trying to intervene to prevent me from finishing the movie, because he was probably like, okay, and stop. This is where the movie stops being good.
A blessing from the Lord.
Even before the movie cut off, there was a pretty major thing that the characters did that I was like, this wouldn't happen this way. And unfortunately, more and more instances of that happened after that point, whereas like it had a really solid start and like crescendo, and then it just petered off, and there was too many logic issues with what the characters were doing, primarily from the antagonists of the film. They just were able to get themselves out of scenarios primarily because the antagonists apparently didn't want to capture them for some reason. Let me explain the premise if you don't know it already. The premise essentially is Josh O'Connor's character is a whistleblower for a major tech company that is partnered with the government, and they have the knowledge and the information revolving around the existence of extraterrestrials. And so it is his responsibility, that he believes, to release that information to the world and give them full disclosure on all the truth regarding the existence of extraterrestrials. So the entire movie is essentially, bad guys want the information that good guy stole, good guy wants to give information to everyone out. So Josh O'Connor's character is essentially like a modern day Robin Hood, okay? Robin Hood, he would rob from the rich to give to the poor. Well, in today's day and age, the most important thing and the most profitable thing to a lot of companies is information. I mean, we live in this tech age, all these companies, Facebook, Twitter, Apple, Tesla, all these things, SpaceX, they all crave information and they hoard it just like they hoard wealth, right? And so in this movie, he is taking the wealth of information that is hoarded from the public and bestowing it upon the world, right? That's his goal, that's his mission. And I love the premise of that, love the plot. And I really loved the series of events that it took place. But again, it got to a point where I was just like, yeah, this is too much for me. Specifically the ending. I was totally left unsatisfied with the ending. Overall, I was just left underwhelmed with the film. I was like, man, this is what we're getting from Spielberg? Now, obviously, it goes without saying, Spielberg is the GOAT.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Okay, he's the greatest of all time. No one can touch him. He has shaped modern cinema into what it is. I mean, he is just so influential into cinema across the board. No one can deny that fact. I'm not one of these like Spielberg purists that say like every single movie he makes is just pure excellence, because it's not. There's been several Spielberg movies that I just do not like, okay? Looking at you, Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Drop dead.
But I cannot deny the fact that like he's made some of my most favorite movies. My favorite war movie of all time is Saving Private Ryan. Full stop. You cannot convince me of anything else. The man has a way with film, and he knows what he's doing. His, forte is science fiction, sci-fi, specifically with aliens. So I was so excited that he was getting back to that. I was like expecting it to be like this awesome thing. You know, it's an original story. We don't get that as much in Hollywood. And I was so excited, and I was left wanting more.
Please, sir, I want some more.
The biggest weakness of this movie is the writing. I looked up the writer of it. I believe it's David Cope, I think is his name. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he's the one who wrote the original Jurassic Park. He also most recently wrote the newest Jurassic World movie, which I had problems with the writing and the plot structure of that movie as well, even though I wouldn't say the movie is like god-awful. But it was one of the weaker entries of the Jurassic World franchise. Those problems I had with the writing in that movie were really prevalent in this one as well. Again, Colin Firth, he's good. He has really great moments to shine in this movie, but in terms of like an antagonistic force of him and like all the other people with the, you know, entity, or the, I don't want to say governmental entity, but like the company, I guess, that they work with, it was almost like, again, like they didn't want to catch them, like they're trying to catch them from stopping them from releasing this information, but then they don't, because like every time they got to a point where they could completely stop them, they just didn't. And I can't go into too much spoilers with each scenario. Like, okay, there was a really cool train sequence, right? And that's kind of where the movie ended the first time for me, the first time I watched it. And that was a cool sequence. But then the second time I watched it, I realized, like, when I was watching it, I was like, wait, why are they doing this? Why is that happening? And why didn't he just do this or that? And then I just realized it's the same problem that, like, the Mandalorian and Grogu had. Again, I'm sorry if I keep bringing that movie up, but it was a necessity for having a action type sequence. And this movie is so light on action. I mean, that's essentially the only scene, to where I realized they probably were working it out, and they're like, you know, we need something to, like, you know, rise the tension in this. Let's throw this in there. And there was no purpose for it other than that. This movie is very dialogue heavy. And that's okay, because I was engaged, I was enthralled with everything that was happening up to a certain point. The standout of this movie is the camera work. I recently saw an interview with Steven Spielberg and the cast of this movie, and they were asking him, they said, what's the most underrepresented role on a movie set? And he said, the camera operator. He said that, you know, the quality of work that goes into the camera operator and deciding how to control the camera and move it around, he said, just falls to the wayside so much that people just don't even view it as like a piece of art or like a really important job. That was front and center of my mind when I watched this movie, and it totally shows. I mean, they need to show whole scenes of this movie to film students and be like, look at the camera work of this scene. There were so many amazing camera work shots regarding, you know, one-er shots where they just continuously went and no editing, but there was also other scenes where I don't know how he did it, but like he'd have the camera in the car, and then the camera would like pan up in the center of the car and be able to move through these things. It was really interesting. Or like the camera would go over a fence, come around, and then come back through the fence. And I'm just intrigued by how he was able to do this. I mean, there was one shot in particular where a character is looking at a laptop, and the camera is on the other side of the laptop, and it comes up around the laptop and spins so you can see what she's looking at the laptop. And I was like, wow, like he can make the most mundane, dialogue-heavy scenes feel energetic and exciting just from the camera work alone. I mean, it was really amazing. The great standout of the movie is Emily Blunt. She does such a phenomenal job acting in this movie, and the role she was in requires her to do so many different things as an actress that I'm assuming she's probably never had to do before, to the point where, I mean, she's speaking different languages, she's having to change different facial expressions, and just her ability that she was able to change in and out of that and just flow smoothly and perfectly. It was amazing. I mean, there's one scene where she's having a panic attack, and it was just expertly done. I mean, brava. I mean, she just did so amazing in this role. A standout for me is Eve Hewson, who played the character of Jane, Josh O'Connor's character's love interest in this movie. If it wasn't for Emily Blunt being in this movie, she would be my favorite, okay? She is now on my radar. I don't know if she's done anything previously to this, like, that is of note, but she did such a good job acting, to the point where there's whole scenes similar to how Emily Blunt would have to change total facial features or, like almost instantaneously. She had to do that in multiple sequences. But my favorite scene and sequence of the entire movie involved a scene with her and Colin Firth just having a discussion. I kid you not, it was fairly early enough in the movie where I was like, this is such an expertly crafted sequence with the camera work, the dialogue, the intense negotiation type of thing almost happening. And she expertly plays it amazingly. The things she had to do in that sequence was so well done. And I thought that the movie was going to be building on top of this sequence, like it was just like, oh, we're going to get another greater sequence and another one and another one. And unfortunately, the latter part of the movie never lived up to the height of that one scene. So I do want to go back and watch that scene alone because she acted her butt off in that scene and did such a great job. So yeah. Okay, I got to talk about the things that didn't work. I can't go too much into plot details, but there's several things in this movie that just, again, didn't make sense. The antagonists doing the thing where they're like, oh, they got away. It's like the end of a cop procedural show where they go to chase the bad guy and the bad guy drives away in a car and they're like, oh, man, and then it cuts to commercial. And you're thinking, wait, get in your car. Go chase him. There was so many times and instances of that where I was like, do they even really want to catch them? I can't go into specifics without going into spoilers, but just trust me, it happens more times than I wanted it to. The biggest disappointment of this movie was the John Williams score. I mean, John Williams, what is he, like pushing 95 now? I mean, I hate to say it, like pretty much on his deathbed, and the guy is still working. I mean, it's phenomenal that he's working. I love that. That's great. But, I mean, man, I'm not saying that this is a reflection that he needs to hang it up, but there was nothing memorable about anything in this score. But also, I don't know if this was Steven Spielberg's choice or if maybe just, John Williams just couldn't provide enough score for the movie. I highly doubt that. But there's large sections early on in this movie that just have no music whatsoever. And I was kind of like, what would make this scene better if we had a little bit of music? Like, I don't care that it's a dialogue-heavy movie. Like, you can have intense music and nice little things to just help set the scene and the mood. And I was surprised at how many sequences in this movie just have no music whatsoever.
Just silence.
And it was more than I wanted, to be honest. Again, there's several times a movie drops out and it works better to have no music in the scene. But it was just, I almost got pretty far into this movie where I was like, is there any music in this film? Like, obviously there probably was some, and I just maybe didn't notice it, but it was very disappointed. There are some of those little motifs you hear at some points in the movie where you could tell, okay, yeah, I can tell this is John Williams, but nothing to the level that, we come to expect from a John Williams score. Pretty disappointing. Josh O'Connor, who got put on my radar from the most recent Knives Out film, Wake Up Dead Man, he stole the show for me in that movie, even though I didn't necessarily like the movie all that well. He was the standout of the movie that I was like, he's on my radar now, I want to see what he does next. Well, here I am, I watched him in this movie. Unfortunately, his role was not well put together, primarily because of the types of dialogue he had. There were several scenes of dialogue he had that was just kind of like info dumping, like it was just like, oh, this is this, oh, this is that. And it fell flat pretty bad for me. Not saying he did a terrible job, no. I think the fault is, again, the writing. I don't think they gave him enough to do to be on the level to match Emily Blunt's character, okay? Because the two of their characters go hand in hand in this film, and it was like, man, you guys didn't give him enough to do to really make him shine, unfortunately. The other one, again, Coleman Domingo. I just got off of seeing him in Michael doing a phenomenal job playing Joe Jackson. And then this movie did not give him enough to shine. The majority of this movie, he is just talking on a cell phone. I kid you not. It's just him walking around talking on a cell phone. Now, again, what makes it a little more enticing and engaging is the camera work while he's talking on the cell phone. It was really well done. But unfortunately, yeah, and then his character largely remained unsatisfying, again, because I can't go into plot points. but there's things story-wise that I was just like, okay, they didn't go in as much detail as I wanted with his character. But that's what I thought of Disclosure Day. You know, it was a very underwhelming experience, primarily because of the third act, and just blaringly obvious plot issues of, like, you know, when you're asking yourself, why wouldn't they do this? Why wouldn't they do that? And the answer is because of plot. Then yeah, like, you have an issue there. You remove the motivations from the characters that don't make sense, and it's just, yeah, it's frustrating. But I want to know what you guys think. Did you like Disclosure Day? Did you not? Let me know in the comments below. Do me a favor, drop me a like, and go ahead and subscribe, because we got plenty more movies coming out. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I'll catch you on the flip side.